Howdy y'all, this is Dwight, and welcome back to part 6 of how I make a basic slip joint pocket knife. As we can see, the knife is disassembled now, but I have not did anything to it yet from the previous video. But before we move on, I did want to talk about the back spring a little bit more and what happens to it when it goes under tension. I am a great one to think back and tell myself I should have mentioned this, said that, and so on and so forth. So I thought I'd talk about this for a minute or two here and discuss some of the nuances that goes on when the back spring goes under tension. In previous video I mentioned that it bends. Well, the majority of the bend is going to happen here in the thinnest part of the back spring, which is our tension relief area. Now, I have in times past, when I still figuring things out, hold my back spring against the tang of my knife without it being under tension and go ahead and I would smooth the butt end out to meet the butt end part of the liners. Well, I'd put it under tension and this part right here would slightly stick out and I'd have to re-smooth it down. Now that would not move near as much as I pointed out this section here where it meets up with the spine of the knife. This part moves way more than this part. Reason being, the butt part of the spring is a lot more material there, so it's a lot more stouter compared to the front end of the spring, which on this particular one we have a decent amount of material between the walk and the spine. So in theory on this spring, very little bending would happen along the walk because it is structurally stouter here than it is in the tension relief area. Now on a pocket knife that has a slim handle, the walk area would have a lot more tendencies to bend right along with the tension relief area because you wouldn't have room to have a lot of material between your walk and the spine. That would be a whole lot thinner. A lot of them is really close to the same thickness as the tension relief area, though the tension relief might be slightly thinner to get the tension where you want it, but it would not be near as stout looking, say, as on this back spring. So on this back spring, why don't I go ahead and make sure that's perfectly flat? Main reason is for me it's to save time. I am scribing a straight scribe line on that whenever I am shaping the back spring. So I am not just willy-nilly shaping that without going by anything. I am going by a straight line, and as long as I do a good job of grinding, of shaping that to the line, then I know that's going to be really close to flat and I can smooth it out and it'll work just fine. Now truthfully, I will sometimes just double check really quick on a flat surface to make sure I haven't put any divots in it. Because sometimes it is easy to put very slight divots in it and then you can fix it easily during the shaping process. So there is that. But trying to polish that up on a flat surface, making it perfectly flat, takes a lot more time. And on just a basic knife where you're having 2 points of contact in each position, I don't feel that part is absolutely necessary as long as it is very close to flat and of course very smooth. So enough about that. We're going to move on. I have yet to take any material off the half stop position of the blade tang, so I need to carefully do that. And I am also going to take some material off our tension relief area to lighten the tension up a little bit, as well as rounding this portion of the tang, because if you run your finger down on a fully assembled knife, that still feels sharp and I want it to feel smooth, so I put a very slight radius with my 1/400 grit belt on that. So when I get those tasks done, I will be back. Okay, I got those tasks done. First off, I will show is how our positions turned out. Of course, we are smooth in the open position. The half stop position is where we were slightly high. We are now smooth. We cannot catch our fingernail on that. Of course, we are same in the closed position. So we are now even in all three positions. I have also took some material off the tension relief, and I went ahead and I've got a 400 grit belt finish on that as well. So the inside of the back spring is now finished out to a belt 400 grit finish, which for this, just a basic pocket knife is where I leave it. If I try to make a fancier knife, it doesn't take a whole lot more to put a hand 400 grit finish on that. I also got this tip part of the back spring with a slight radius on it, so now it feels smooth. If I'd left that sharp, you would feel that drag on your finger, but now it feels nice and smooth. Now, since I took some material off the relief section, tension relief section of the back spring, we are smooth up here. Now the back spring bent just a little bit more. So now looky here. You hear that? My fingernail is now catching, albeit slightly, is now catching on the liners right here, which is directly in line with our tension relief. So I've got to flush the spine of this once again, but since I have a rounded spine, if all I do is flush it right here, I'm going to end up with a slight low spot. And I don't want that. So I'm now going to have to take some material back here off the spine to keep my nice slight curve. That is something to look out for. It don't matter if you got a curved spine, a straight spine. Whenever you get everything flushed up and you realize you still need to take tension off your knife, your back spring, where your tension relief is, will sink down in your liners ever so slightly, or it can be more drastic if you take a whole lot off. So that is something to keep a lookout for. So I am now going to do that, and after I get that done, I'm going to not disassemble the knife, not yet. I'm going to smooth out the inside part of my liners. I have not did that yet. They are not quite even side to side, and they still have that 36 grit belt where I shaped them. I am not going to take much material off at all because I am happy with the flow in the open position. If I take any at all off, it will be very slightly right here, because I like the cutting edge to flow right along with the inside of the handle. Now if this was a slim handled pocket knife, that kick probably would stick out, and of course the blade would be thinner too. Things like that catch my eye. I don't like a very thin blade with a fat looking handle. To me it just doesn't flow, but that's my preference. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a very slight radius on the butt corners on the inside, as well as round the end of the handle on this end. So that is several tasks I'm going to do all at once, and when I have those done, I will be back. Okay, we're back to see where we are at now. I have rounded the end of the handles there. I am honestly not 100% happy with it. I might round the inside of it just a touch more, but it is fairly close to where I want it. And again, I've rounded it on each of the top and the bottom inside edge. That way there's no sharp corners. I've rounded the end of the handle, and our blade is still sitting down in there nicely. As you can see, I've cleaned the spine of the blade up now. Our action's still good. I did have to remove some material here off, mainly off the butt end of the knife, but I did have to take just a little bit on up in here too. That is something to keep in mind. Once you're getting close, if you take too much material off in the area of the tension relief part of the back spring, you can really lighten the tension up. And it did lighten this tension up some, but we're still in a good spot. If we take a look at the knife down this view, you can see we have a nice curve going along the spine into the blade, and what I was talking about, we now have a nice curve and flow on the inside of the handle going along to the cutting edge of the blade. The kick part is sticking down a little bit, and that is fine. I don't mind that. I don't think that interrupts the flow very much, especially on a slim handled knife. That generally will stick down a little bit more noticeably. But overall, I am very pleased with how this knife is turning out so far. It's flowing quite nicely, I think. That will do it for this video. In the next video, I will be showing how I go about putting file work on my liners, and that will probably take up basically the next video. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm going to attempt to do that later on today. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I do appreciate everyone who's following along on this series on how I make a basic slip joint pocket knife. Till the next video, y'all take care.